Tonight, well, first of all, I'm Vinny, and I want to thank you all for joining me on a Saturday night here. I'm sure you have lots of great choices that you can make, but I'm very excited to be up here talking. It's going to be an interesting conversation because I'm hoping that you guys all help me participate in this. Um, I'm going to be talking about 50 different ways that musicians and songwriters can make money. And in a lot of cases, I would love to get your examples, ways that you've made money, things that I haven't thought about, ways that you have taken advantage of some of the things that I'm talking about. I think there's a whole lot of opportunity out there that most musicians never ever tap into, and it makes me really sad. And so I will have stories as we're going along, but there are definitely things that I think are important. So I'm going to start off with, and some of these are not within reach of everybody, but if I can give you one or two that change what you're doing in the music industry to make some more money, it would be worth it. So these are in no particular order, but the first one is a publisher advance. And if you're familiar with how publishers work, you can get an advance where they are paying you a monthly stipend. It's usually not very much. It could be $1,200 to $2,500, $3,000 a month to write songs for them. You're still owning your own copyrights. They get the publishing part of it. And that is an advance toward any royalties that you get. So those are the songs that obviously they're going to be pushing really hard because they want you to make money so that they can get their money back. And so publisher advance is something that a lot of songwriters strive for. They want to get that ongoing income so that they can spend their time doing the writing. There are a lot less publishing deals right now than there used to be. There's no question about that. There's the money, of course, started drying up is for songwriters anywhere, and so that was a major part of that. At one point, there were 2,000 songwriters that were under contract under publishing deals here in Nashville, and now there's maybe 100. And it's growing. It's coming back a little by little, but that is a very strong, wonderful situation that you can be in if you get that publishing advance. Second one I'll talk about is commissioned works, actually. So that could range anything from being an orchestrator and orchestrating songs for orchestras or for artists. It could also mean custom songs. I used to sell, this is going back into the 80s, and I would write a song and record it for somebody for $250 for their wedding or their anniversary. And I kept pretty busy doing that. And that's still not too bad money, considering I still kept the copyright. I tried to make the songs generic enough that I could still use them if I wanted to. I had a questionnaire that I would ask them that would give me some specifics about the people that I was writing about. But from there, it was completely up to me. And we would do a basic, you can do a basic guitar or piano demo with vocals or a full band. I was able to do a full band because I played all the instruments. But it was a very lucrative thing. And I know my friend Harold Payne, who Khalid, you might know, he's down from your area. He's written for songs for everyone from Peter, Paul, and Mary all the way up to Snoop Dogg, and has had #1 hits. And same time, he makes his living now. I mean, he loves just going out and actually going to corporations and making up songs as a keynote. He'll get up there and he'll write a song about the CEO, and he'll write a song about the company itself, and he'll do it on the spot. He'll say, give me a genre, give me a topic, and then he'll go. And he's amazing at it, and he's hilarious. But you can make money writing songs on commission, and that could also be obviously writing for film and TV if something were to come up where you got to compose songs for a score. So that's something that I highly recommend if you're in a market that would support that. If you're good at writing wedding type songs, love songs where anniversaries People would buy it for their anniversary, would buy it to have an exclusive wedding song that nobody else has. That could be a very loop thing. You can also compose original songs for, well, like I said, for any kind of broadcast. It doesn't have to be movies. It could be for a TV show, a theme song for a TV show. It could be a theme song for a podcast right now, which are really, really big. Diane and I were just having a conversation about that. It could be a jingle, which is, very lucrative. And we'll get a little bit more into detail with that. But, film, TV, documentaries, corporate videos, those all require songs. There are lots of libraries now where you could record songs and upload them to a library. And that's where people come to look for songs. That's a big deal. And I think there's some, like, there's one here in town. I'm trying to think of the name of it. I'll think of it after we're done, I'm sure. Where they have 40 composers that they hire who come into the office 40 hours a week and just write instrumental music. And then they have a membership license, like $75 a year, and you get to tap into the library. And they just have full-time people doing that. And it's it's a very lucrative business. I know in their first year they did over $1 million. So there's big money in that, and especially now when not a lot of other stuff is going on, there's definitely a big market for film and TV. There's not a whole lot of production going on, but for more like a documentary type of style thing where you don't need a big production crew, there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of smaller productions going on, and they all need music, all of them. Obviously, you can record songs and sell them, and you can sell the downloads. You can sell the physical version. You can even sell sheet music. And that's there's a publisher here in town that I love what he does. He goes online and he'll look up, say, Russian country singers, and he'll look for country singers in Russia who sing in English, and they don't do original songs. They only do covers. And he will write them. He'll send them an email and say, I heard your, I saw your video. I heard your song. I think you have a tremendous voice. And I'm a Nashville publisher. I was wondering if you were looking for any original songs. And they're like, wow, a Nashville publisher contacted me. And he ends up not only licensing the song to them, but he will license the master to the song, which is, I think he gets $350 for that because he has all his songs demoed. Actually, he has his own demo studio. And then he'll even sell the sheet music for it. My friend and one of the artists I was managing, Jason Lyle Black, did a whole book of Disney medleys that was published by Hal Leonard. So that's another way that you can make money. You can compose for theater performances. It may be hard to get into doing a Broadway score, of course, but there are lots and lots of community theaters. There are lots of screenwriters, playwriters that would love to have music for what they're doing. There are people who write, who need co-writers because they're working on a project like that. So theaters are a big deal, and once you do work your way up the ranks there's some pretty serious money in composing for anything that's going to have an original album score published. And you look at something like Hamilton and all the money that comes from the songs that are in that. Of course, that's the extreme, and there's a whole path to getting there. But you don't have to start at the Hamilton level. You can work your way up to that. And if anybody out there has actually had, made money in any of these ways, I would love to know how you got that kind of gig, what you do, what kind of song you were writing. Because it's, to me, I've got some stories, but it's much more powerful because mine are usually just stories or examples, but it's more powerful to hear it from you as to what you've done. And Khalik, I'm sure you've written a lot of stuff that has gotten cut in a lot of different areas. So I'd love your input on this. You can perform in an orchestra or an ensemble, and as opposed to having a band, working in an orchestra. This is something you could do full time. You could do it on the side. It doesn't matter, but that's another. There are a lot of like rock musicians who on the side are working in a some kind of ensemble or a small orchestra, or it could be a barbershop quartet even, something different like that, because they have strong vocals, perfect pitch and everything, and they're making extra money, and some of that makes really big money. So it could be your main thing, like I said, but it could be something you do on the side. There are performance fees that you get from your PRO from performing live. So if you belong to BMI or ASCAP and you're performing live, you can actually report those songs. If you're doing your originals, you can report those songs to the PRO and you will get a royalty from that. They want you to do that. They want you to report it because they're looking for, obviously, the venues that they can go after who are not paying the licenses, so they can get more money out of it from that. So that's kind of a double-edged sword, because I've actually had some artists say, I'm not going to report it. I'd rather give up the money. I don't want to be the one that gets the venue in trouble. And, that hurts other songwriters, but at the same time, I totally understand that. You don't want to burn a bridge. If you're being, invited in there to perform, you don't want to be the one that's going to cause any kind of hassles like that. So, it's a balancing act, but that is something that you can do. And if you're out performing your originals, I always recommend that you track those, and you can get paid for that. You can perform for tips, and I did this for years. I would always get paid, but I made more money usually from tips than I would make from playing, especially when I did piano bars. And the reason is because if you know how to entertain, people are going to come out of the woodwork to support you. They love having an entertainer who is playing their favorite songs, who's catering to them, and they will definitely tip you. If you know how to work an audience to get them to tip you, that's an art in itself. But I could do a gig for $50 on a piano bar and come home with $150, $200 in tips sometimes. And so I never worried about where the money was going to come from. It was, especially in those kind of venues. If it was really slow, I wouldn't make any money. But if we had a good crowd, I knew how to work the crowd, and that's something that I could count on in making those tips. And sometimes it only takes one big tipper in there that's going to fill your coffer pretty steadily. You can, if you're going after a record label, you can get an advance. Now, a lot of the advance it's pre-designed for certain things. You could, it could be whether it's tour support, and some of these I'm combining just so so that I don't have to go through 50 different things that are all very related in different ways. But, from a record label, you can get a label advance toward your royalties, toward the sales of your records. You get an advance to do the recording that you need to do. You can get tour support, money from the label for that. There's a lot of different things that, depending on the label. Now, things are really different right now, and especially with independent labels. There's so many different kinds of labels, and some of them do not have that money. They might pay for your recording. They're not giving you the recording as an advance or the money in advance to go and hire your own producer. Some of them let you go and get your own masters. You bring the master to them, and they become more of a marketing partner for you, and they're repping it rather than them putting out the money for it. And there's just so many different kinds of record deals. But in most cases, there is some kind of advance that you can get. In fact, you would probably really want to get, because it helps to get you to be able to do the things that you need to do. Obviously, you can sell music at your shows, and I know that's not really popular or as popular anymore. There are people that still buy CDs, usually an older demographic, people who still have CD players like me in my car, because I have an older car. I still love to get CDs, but a lot of people aren't buying CDs. They will buy it if you're in a tourist area. They will buy it if you're in if it's a souvenir, if it's a souvenir of the performance. If it's just a bar band, if you're a bar band, you're probably not going to sell as much. If you're performing for the same people over and over again, you're not going to sell as much. There are tips to being able to sell more to people to the fans who come and see you all the time. But I think there's, it's very, some people just have forgotten how they can actually make money selling their music. And the physical sales, because it is a souvenir, because people go to a concert not to hear your CD, but to have an experience that they can't get anywhere else. And then they want to take that experience home with them. And the best way for them to take that experience home is by buying a CD, especially if the CD is a live CD of the concert. So it doesn't have to be that particular concert, but if it's a live CD, that's something that they can take home with them, and it brings them back. Every time they listen to it, it brings them back to that concert. So that's something that I highly recommend. And if you've got the right audiences, CDs are still really big. If you go to a state fair, you're performing there, people buy souvenirs. If you're on Broadway here in Nashville, people buy souvenirs. They will buy your music. You have to know, based on the kind of music that you do and the kind of venues that you're playing, whether or not that's worth it for you to go and get CDs printed. But definitely music sales at shows can be a big income. There is a fund called the Film Musicians Secondary Markets Fund. And this pays performers on recordings used in film and TV. And I believe it goes through the Musicians Union and SAG-AFTRA together. I may be wrong, but I believe that's where it initiates. But it's hard for musicians to get paid over and over again for the work that they do. They're usually a work for hire, and they get paid once, and that's it. I'm not talking about the artist. I'm not talking about the band that is, the name, the actual band, but the studio musicians and whatnot. So there are different ways that they get paid. One of them is through this fund. Another one is through Sound Exchange. And Sound Exchange is an organization set up by the government. It's a nonprofit that is designed to collect internet royalties for internet radio airplay. So they collect the royalties, not for the songwriter though. BMI and ASCAP, that's where you get your songwriter royalties. But Sound Exchange collects the money for the label or whoever owns the master. So if you had the master, you paid for it, you own the master, then you're the one that's due that money. They also pay for the artist. So if you're the artist, you're due that money. But if you performed on the song, there is a small portion of the money that's also put aside for that. So if you are a studio musician, you want to be registering all those gigs that you've done, all those recordings that you've been on, because there is money available for that. It's not a whole lot. I think Sound Exchange takes 45% and puts it toward the artist. 45% goes to the record label or the owner of the master. 5% is split up amongst the musicians and the backup singers, and then 5% is kept for admin. And they pay out billions. And I had one artist that I was working with. He was in a Southern gospel group when he was the lead singer and one of 3 lead singers, and they did really, really well. And then he went solo, and he had 4 songs in the top 40 on Southern gospel. Now, they didn't reach number 1, they didn't reach top 10, they were just in the top 40. And I was coaching him, and when I told him about Sound Exchange, he went and registered, and they had $6,000 waiting for him. Good part about Sound Exchange, not like unlike ASCAP and BMI and CSAC, who pay out every quarter all of their allocations. So if you weren't counted in that allocation, you're not going to get money. But Sound Exchange holds on to the money until you find them or they find you. And they have millions, probably billions in reserve that's, you know, in escrow waiting to be paid to people when they come out and claim it. It's just that a lot of people don't know it exists. And so that's a big challenge because there's a lot of money there that you could be losing. So definitely, you know, those secondary, that secondary market fund is good. Sound recording special payments. And I've got my notes here and I just want to read it. It's paid to performers for the sales of music recorded under AFM collective bargaining agreement by the Sound Recording Special Payments Fund. So I am not an AFM, a union member. That's why I wanted to read that. I wanted to get it right. That is a way that you can get paid. And so it's for the performers that are under a certain agreement that they have. There is a SAG-AFTRA contingent scale payments. And these are actually, it's paid to non-royalty artists when a recording hits certain plateaus. So it sells a certain amount of copies. And so there's income there. And that's through SAG-AFTRA, which is the actors union, but that's really important. There is, of course, you can be a session musician. You can be doing side work, studio work, and you get paid for that. Again, make sure if you're doing that and the song is going to be popular, especially, you want to make sure that you're registered with Sound Exchange, that you're on there. But session musicians do make pretty decent money, and they're pretty steady work if you can get in with the right producers. The right the producers are the ones that choose who's going to be on the sessions, and so you really want to make sure that you do that. You can also be a session musician for live work, and so there are a lot of bands that or a lot of artists that have to hire musicians to back them, and you can do that. Even though you may have your own band, you may have your own act and everything, sometimes it's really valuable to just make extra money by being a backup musician to someone else. I know some people that are, their egos won't let them do that, but if you're about the money and you need to pay the bills, that's a great way to do it. I highly recommend session work, both on stage and in the studio, because it's a blast. Obviously, you can teach. You can do music lessons, you can do voice lessons. I don't have to go into a whole lot of detail there. The big thing about that right now is that a lot of people are doing it online. You can do Skype lessons. There are places, lots of places online now that are just designed to connect students and teachers. And so I would highly recommend that you check that out, because it's a way that you can make money from home, teaching, doing what you love, but and not having to leave your home, especially right now with all the COVID stuff going on. So that's, you don't have to be an expert. You have to be good enough to teach somebody. And I'm going to give you an example of that. I used to teach steel guitar. I don't play steel guitar. I used to teach it. So I would take a lesson in the morning, and I knew enough about guitar that I could teach the lesson that I learned in the afternoon. So you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be better than your students and be able to teach them that. You can produce. You can be a producer, and you can produce other artists and get paid either flat fees, work for hire, or you can get percentage points on the back end. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can structure a project like that. I always tell people, if you have a studio and you're able to produce people and the studio is slow, invest in people. Invest in artists where, number one, you're getting your work out there, but number two, you're making money on the back end. Find artists that you think are going to be good and give them an incredible deal. So you're still paying your bills, but you're getting money on the back end. There's a lot of ways to make money as a producer. And so I always recommend that. keynote concerts. You can get paid for keynote concerts, and keynote concerts are where you are speaking and performing. The big thing that I like about keynote concerts, it's usually for corporate events or for like large nonprofit events. You do get paid even for the nonprofit ones, but you get paid as a speaker, not as an entertainer. So where they might put $500 aside for the band, they might have $3,500 for the speaker. And so if you have a platform that you like to talk about, if that's something that appeals to you in being up there and speaking and then playing songs that relate to what you're speaking about, keynote concerts are a huge thing. And sometimes you can get in with a nonprofit. Let's say you got in with Goodwill and you're doing fundraisers for them. They will refer you to Goodwills all over the country, and you can actually do these fundraising keynote concerts. And I have a whole plan on how to do that and how to teach them how to market you. But you can go out there and do these events that enable you to get in front of people, make money, do your music, help share your passion, everything, and you're doing good. You're making money for the artist, for the nonprofit. But corporations also hire people all the time to do speaking and keynote concerts. There aren't a whole lot of keynote concert presenters, so that's a really good niche to be in. Of course, you can get, because you are a musician of any kind of status, you can get paid an honorarium to just go and speak. You might be speaking at a music conference or maybe at a Rotary Club. It doesn't matter. But sometimes you can get, it might be $50. It might be a gift certificate, but it could be a lot more depending on who you are and how much in demand you are. But you can get paid as a speaker even though you're not performing. It's just because of what your experience is. Merchandise sales, merch sales. To me, this is one of the things that most musicians miss the boat on, because they don't know how to take advantage of merch sales. They don't know how to get the most out of it. I have some rules for merch sales. Just real quickly, you need to have something that is very small, inexpensive to buy, but that you can have a good markup on it, that is unbreakable, that you can carry a lot of, and that could be anything from a rubber wristband, if it's done right, where you can charge extra for it, or if you're in the right market. But Jason Lyle Black is a comedic piano player, and he has watches that have a piano on them. He pays like $2.50 for them and sells them for $15. Excuse me. It doesn't even have his name on it, but he knows his market, and his market is older folks. He plays a lot of theaters. He plays cruise ships, and those folks buy them not for themselves, but for their grandchildren. So, and he does the same thing with the rubber wristbands, where you can go to a concert and get them for 50 cents or $1. He sells them for $5 because the grandparents don't know what the costs are. They buy them for their grandchildren. So if you know how to tap into your market, if you know what your market is really gonna want to buy from you, and then you do something exclusive with it. Some of the stuff you can sell all the time and people will lose it and they'll come back and buy another one, like a wristband or something, or you can just change it up a little bit. But I also recommend that you have things that are seasonal, something that is going to go out of date. Maybe it's just a limited edition. We have 500 of these and then they're gone and we're not going to get that color again, because people who are diehard fans are going to buy every version of it that you have. And so, there's a reason why you get a shirt that says this is the summer 2010 tour or 2020 tour, and then the summer 2021 tour, and their fans will go and buy it. They want to have one of everything. They collect them. And so anything that you can do that would be a collector's item, even more than a t-shirt or something, but an actual collector's item. I don't recommend this necessarily, but I had one artist who was selling wine glasses. and they were embossed with the band's name and with the date of a very special event, and that was really cool, and they sold out on them. But think about carrying cases of wine glasses in a van over a bumpy road. That could be kind of be ugly. So that's why I don't recommend it. But merchandise is something that there are artists out there like Jason who have actually been able to go and volunteer or play for a really small amount compared to his normal amount, just knowing that when there's enough people in the audience, he is going to sell $1,500 to $2,000 worth of merchandise. And that's huge. So it's amazing if you do it right. If you know your market, you really study what they would buy and what they would buy from you, especially, merchandise can be incredibly, incredibly lucrative. Fan club, Patreon. To me, every artist nowadays needs to have some kind of a fan club where people are paying them. They need mailbox money. Think about all the artists who don't have mailbox money, and it may be you, but who never created mailbox money as part of their career. And then when COVID hit, all of a sudden there was absolutely no income because there were no gigs. But if you have fan club and you have people paying, like on Patreon, where they're giving you $10 a month, and you happen to have 500 people doing that, you've got $5,000 a month coming in, and you're doing something special for them. And you're treating them very specially. Those are your true fans, your super fans, and you want to treat them specially. You want to do things just for them. That's what they're paying you for, to be treated specially. The bottom line is that is mailbox money. That's money that comes in every month. It's recurring on their credit card. And one of the ideas that we've actually discussed here is turning this campus into a Patreon type of experience where somebody can come on here with their fan base once a month or once a week and charge their fan base to be part of this. And they can not only do a concert for them, but they can spend the day with them. They can go boating with them. They can play soccer with them. They can do meet and greets. They can go sit in the networking room and just talk and get to know the artists and everything at a level that you'll never get anywhere else with any other kind of fan club. So there's a lot of ways to do that, and people are doing some unique things with fan clubs. But the bottom line is, if a smart musician is going to create multiple streams of income, and that's something that a lot of artists just pass on. They don't think about it. They don't put the effort into it, and it is a savior when anything else. Even just think if you get sick, you're out for a month because you've got a broken leg or something, and you can't be out there touring, and you lose all that income. You could be carried by this. By having mailbox money. And of course, royalties and everything, those are all mailbox money too. But this is a great one because fans are loyal. The royalties will fade eventually unless you've written a song like Yesterday. There aren't a whole lot of those out there. But fans are loyal and they'll stick with you. And if you're treating them special, they will be there for a long time. So another thing that you can do, now you'd have to be probably more well-known, but you can actually license your logo or your persona, license your logo to a company that prints, merch. I've got one artist that we're working with who wrote a song called Born American Pride. He got it turned into a logo. He trademarked it, and he got, can't think of the company now, but a company licensed the logo, and now he's got several others that are interested. And it's, it was just from a song, but it's a really lucrative deal when you can do that. And you can do that, of course, with your name and your likeness if you're popular enough. You can also get endorsements, and that could be money. It could be free goods from a brand that you're endorsing. It's a two-way street. They want to see you playing their instrument, and so they're giving you an instrument, or you're playing the instrument and they're giving you the right to say that you're endorsed by them. It works a lot of different ways. but that's a huge way to make money. You can act, and now you can act like as an actor, there's no doubt about that, but you can also act where there are a lot of films and TV shows that need musicians in the show. They have a band, they're showing a band in the corner of the bar, or a piano player at the piano bar. And so you can get those kind of gigs as well. And that happens in TV, it happens in commercials, it happens in movies, it's everywhere. Sponsorships. You can get corporate sponsorships for a tour, for, just for your band merchandise. There's a lot of different things, a lot of ways that you can get corporate sponsorships. If you've got a big fan base, if you're an influencer, this is getting really, really big. And there are some amazing companies that's all they do is hook bands up with followings with corporations. And like there's the new agency out of New York, NUE, that works with major brands, bigger acts, people that have that are influencers. There's another one called the Big Agency, BYG, out of LA, that works with smaller acts. If you have under 100,000, say between 50 and 100,000 followers, say on TikTok, that's their sweet spot, and they hook you up with endorsement deals, with sponsorships. So I mean, it's becoming really, really popular because fans are loyal to their artists, and they believe if an artist endorses a product, it's a really good sales, really good chance that it's going to turn into a sale. And so that's a really big deal. You can get grants. There are all kinds of grants out there, whether it's for a work project, whether it's for writing a certain kind of composition, doing something ethnic, doing something, I mean, it's just endless. Writing for a play, writing, doing composing for a community orchestra. There's lots and lots of grants out there. Some of them are foundations, private foundations. Some of them are public arts grants, and some are from federal agencies. So do a lot of research on that, especially if you have something that's out of the norm. It's hard for like a rock band to just get a grant, but you could get a grant if you were going to do an album, say, on domestic violence, or an album on you're raising money for an anti-bullying campaign or something. All of that, you can get grants for that. Of course, mechanical royalties are something that you can still get, and that is when someone wants to record your song and sell physical copies of it, and you're getting paid to do that. The songwriter is the one that gets that. I talked about public performance rights from royalties, sync licenses, obviously licensing for a film, a TV, a commercial, a corporate video, a wedding video. There are so many different ways right now where people need sync licenses, so many different places where they need them. And it's become very, very lucrative for the people that get it. And just to give you an example, a friend of mine, Turk Wilder, wrote the theme song to Walker, Texas Ranger, The Eyes of the Ranger Are Upon You, in the 90s. And he still makes $60,000 a year on that. So there is money to be made there. There's no question there's money to be made there. And I can, some of the stuff, like, there's certain ways that you reach out to music supervisors, who are the ones that pick the music for film and TV. But you can also go to independent local filmmakers and offer to do things for them. They often have a budget for music, and you're going to help them put that together. There are composers associations that have all the information about what films are looking for composers and things like that. There's a lot of ways to get that. There are sync libraries, lots of them. Some of them where you just upload your music to it, and people come and search for music, certain kinds of music, and license it from the library. Others are more aggressive in going out and getting people to come and listen to the library, so they're not as passive. There are people who are sync placement agents, sync song pluggers. Publishers have gotten really big into sync because again, the songwriting royalties have gone away. So they're really going after the sync part because there's more money there. So that's another way that you can make money. And let's see. Of course, your royalties, your songwriting royalties from your PRO, that's a way to make money. And I think there's nobody knows, I don't think, whether ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC is better. It's hard to compare them. But if you don't have that and you don't have it set up right, you could be missing out on an awful lot. There are sites that pay royalties for lyrics. So, if you have your lyrics on LyricFind or something like that, you can actually collect a royalty from that. You can also take your lyrics and turn it into be a poster. It could be printed on a t-shirt. It could be printed on a t-shirt that's not even associated with you, that somebody else licenses, like with the Born American Pride, where it's not about the song when it comes to licensing the trademark out. So there's a lot of ways to utilize your lyrics. And but definitely, there was a big to-do about the fact that the lyric sites online were not paying royalties. So I believe that's all settled, and they are paying royalties now. Retail sales, obviously, of music, not just selling it at your gig. And the same thing with merch. Sometimes you can get your merch into retail sales. There are royalties from streaming, and that's important. And then neighboring rights, which will be collected by your PRO. But neighboring rights are the same thing that Sound Exchange does in the United States. Most other PROs in other countries also do that. They collect for the performer. They collect for whoever owns the master. And so that is part of your, that would be part of your royalty statement. Here you have to have your PRO and then also be registered with Sound Exchange. But in most other countries, like in Canada, where they have SOCAN, they do both. And so that's considered your neighboring rights royalties. You can sell your music for ringtones, or create a ringtone and sell it. There are obviously digital sales on iTunes and things like that, where you can make money from downloads. And there are a lot of places, a lot of people don't download things anymore. We all know that, but it's not dead yet. And there are a lot of places a lot of people that do want to still do that. So I don't ever give up on that. You want to make sure that your stuff is, your songs are everywhere. You get royalties from interactive service payments, which is revenue generated when your music is streamed on places like Pandora. There are, I'm going to pull these I've already mentioned, so I'm kind of skipping through. I kind of combined a lot of them. Time is getting shorter here. You can make money off of the YouTube partner program. You have to have a certain amount of followers. I think it's 10,000, but after that, your videos can make money. And you can also license your music for people who are doing videos, making music videos. That's a really, really lucrative business. There are people that have set up just online places where people just license music for their videos. So it could be for a wedding video. It could be for, a corporate retirement video or something like that. Family get-together, family gathering, family reunion, and they put music behind it, and they have to license music for that. So that's something that you really want to look at. Definitely ad revenue from your website. It's not directly related to your songs, but if you're creating enough buzz and people are coming to your website, or product placements is another one in your videos. If you're getting enough placements, if you're getting enough traction on your videos, you can get companies who want to have their products in your videos. I'm kind of winging it here. Definitely, you don't make a whole lot of money. I don't think you make any money from TikTok right now. If you're independent, you're not going to be they have worked out some deals with publishing companies, but not all the independent companies. But at the same time, if you become an influencer, you can make money from sponsorships there, and that's a really big thing. You can make money from arrangements. You're doing arrangements for an orchestra or for a band. There's all kinds of coaching that you can do. You can be a performance coach, which is a really big deal. You can be a choreographer. It's all kind of related, but there's a lot of different coaching things that you can do. You can charge for exclusive fan experiences, which is big. So you could have a special concert. It's an online concert. Of course, online concerts are another way that you can make money. You can charge for them. Any kind of virtual events. We'll be having a lot of them on here. But the whole idea of being able to do exclusive events for your fan base where they're going to pay a premium for it, or it's exclusive for your fans that are in your Patreon or your fan club. But to do an exclusive fan experience, just for an example, there are a lot of bands that will do a cruise, and their fans will all come with them on the cruise, and they're going to make good money on that. They're going to make money on every person that comes on the cruise. They're making a commission on every ticket. But that's an exclusive type of event that you can do. There are all kinds of virtual events that you can do. And I'll close with this. Right now, a lot of people are using Facebook Live. They're using Twitch because they're getting tips. They're using StageIt because you can charge for tickets for that. We will be doing a lot of them here. There's no question about that. Virtual events are getting bigger and better, and there are a lot more programs that are coming out specifically for those with better video, better sound. So I highly encourage you to figure out where your niche is in the virtual world. And it may not be on a platform like this, but it may be that you're doing, I met a gentleman, and I've been trying to think of his name all day, and I just have to look it up. But he was considered Mr. World Piano by Elton John, and he used to perform with Elton John. And he lives in Vegas now, and he has totally given up performing live, not because of COVID, but because when COVID ended, he bought all the equipment to do a really cool live YouTube show. And now he just does a live YouTube show, and he makes money off of that. And I'm not exactly sure how he monetizes it, because I know you can see some of it free, but I think he does very exclusive shows that people are paying for. And he's a great entertainer. He's a great singer. He's hilarious. And he's got a British accent, and people love that. And he's, really good piano player, great arranger. But the bottom line is, he said, why would I travel? Why would I even leave my house anymore to go and perform and try to fight for, less and less money every time, when I can make just as much money, if not more, sitting here doing what I absolutely love and communicating with people. So he does YouTube lives, and he does them several times a week. So there's a lot of ways that people are learning to change with the times, change with the technology. The technology is catching up, as you can see with the Spark. We are working right now on improving the sound and video quality so that we can have better performances in there, higher quality performances. Once we do, there is absolutely nothing stopping us. This could be the ultimate fan experience. We can have concerts with 5,000, 6,000 people in the auditoriums, in 6 different auditoriums with the same feed coming into everybody. And then the artist can be walking around, spending the day with their fans. There's so much that we can do in this space, and there are more and more different kinds of spaces like this. There's a website just for 3D music videos. There's a website just for real 3D where you use your Oculus. I mean, it's just amazing what's around the corner for the virtual world. And so I hope that helped. It's supposed to, the talk isn't about anything in specific, except for if I can trigger some ideas for you. Gee, I hadn't thought about that. I do this, and it's close to this, but I hadn't thought about how I can monetize that. If I've done that in any way, shape, or form, then I've done my job. And I'm glad to answer any questions that anyone might have about any of these means. Does anyone have a question?
I don't have a question, but I was going to say, I was listening to Tom Hess, one of his work recently, and he was saying that the bands that he's been a part of, they earned more money by doing meet and greets and backstage passes than the tickets, which floored me. We said that, oh, we just and sit on Facebook and jokes and gibberish. These fans want to be backstage, just hang out with them. They want what we do before the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, people crave that intimate relationship. They look up to the artists that they love, and they want to have that relationship, and there's a reason for it. They feel like they have something in common with those artists. You and I were talking earlier about, it's not about just the music anymore. It used to be that the only thing you heard about an artist was the music. You got that first from the record label to the radio, and that's what you got to hear. But it's not that way now. Now there's so much clutter with so many artists out there that people want to get to know the artist. They want to know who they are, what they stand for, what they love, what they're passionate about, what their hobbies are. It doesn't mean they have to get really personal, but they want to know that they have a connection with that artist. And when they have that connection, then they give the music a much, much deeper listen. And they'll hear the lyrics, how it pertains to their story and their passions and everything. But that's the only way that an artist gets attention right now. It's about that personal connection. And so meet and greets, beforehand, after parties, those are huge because people will pay premiums for that. Another thing I didn't mention on here, obviously I didn't mention just going out and performing, but house concerts are a really big deal. And if you know how to do house concerts, more importantly, if you know how to get your fans to put on house concerts, you can make really good money. House concerts are intimate. You get to know the people that are there. They become deeper fans because it is an intimate gathering. And because you are talking to them one-on-one, they feel like they want to take a piece of that concert home with them. So they buy your merch, they buy your music. And so, the chances of you getting house concerts from somebody that you don't know is pretty slim. It's hard to get into the circuits that are out there. But you can teach your fans how to do a house concert, and they will put on a house concert. And then usually when you do one, if you've got 15 or 20 people there, or maybe more, somebody from there is going to say, this was fun, I want to do it. And then it just proliferates. It becomes bigger and bigger because they want that closeness. So anything that you can do to offer that closeness. That's why when I talk about the Spark or something like this being a fan club, it's because it's as close as somebody's going to get to their artists right now because of COVID. And it's where they can actually be in touch with all of their artists and have a personal experience with all of their fans rather at one time. And that's really tough to do at a concert. So everybody gets a backstage pass, basically, is what we're saying, because you're spending the day with them. So yeah, anything that you can do that's more intimate is going to make more money. There's no question. People pay for that intimacy, that relationship. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Well, then I think I've.
uh,
Yep.
No, I'm kind of wondering how is the publishing companies and some of the other like the companies that keep track of all these rights for the music that are out there. How are they keeping track of all these for the royalty rates for the musician or the artist?
Every song that is released digitally, actually, song albums that are released physically, but every song that is released digitally has an ISRC code attached to it. It's usually provided by your distributor, so that could be CD Baby, it doesn't matter. Um, but it's attached to that particular song and that recording of the song. Okay, so it's not the underlying song, it's the recording of the song. And so that code goes with you, when your song is played on Pandora or your song is played on Spotify or, wherever it's played, that ISRC code is tracked, and that's what the royalties are paid off of. And then there's another code, and it's escaping me. It's IWRC, I think, that is for the writer. So it's for the songwriting that, a song will get code for that. And that will be given to anyone who's recording somebody else's song. So if I record your song, I need to have your code that identifies you as a songwriter. And right now it's tough because not everybody had ISRC codes, or they did them wrong. Now they've really clamped down on that, and that's why instead of you having to get your own CD Baby or TuneCore, and then we'll get them for you. I won't go into what they are and how they work, but the bottom line is that's being tracked, and where they're really going is to I can't think of the name of it now, where everything is tracked end to end digitally. It's the same thing that Bitcoin is based on. Can't think of it. I will in a second. But where the producers' parts are identified digitally, the songwriter parts, the musicians, everything is tracked. And in order for it to go to the next level, all the boxes have to be checked. All of the pieces have to be filled in. And so there is this long tail digital footprint of everything that the song or the recording has gone through. And that's what they're working on right now. But trying to standardize that, there's a lot of companies that were trying to do it. And it's been really tough to get anybody to adopt the standard. The labels want their own standards, the publishers want their own standards, and it's just been crazy. But that's the way it's done. It's done with digital codes. Who else? Well, then, I absolutely really appreciate you being here tonight. I hope it was helpful in some way. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the campus and learning more from you, from your experiences, because we've all had our own experiences. And this is a critical issue right now in the industry where artists are not figuring out how to make money. And you can see there's a lot of things that can be done from the comfort of your home or from your own studio that would make a world of difference on your income if you're capable of doing that. So with that, I'll say good night. Thank you, and have an amazing, amazing evening.